Oh boy. Here we are. Oh boy. Hey guys. Welcome to Pop Culture Curiosities, where Gabe and I and occasionally other people get together and tell each other stories from pop culture that fascinate us. We usually also throw in our own stories from set experience, which I feel like we'll be doing a lot today.
Hooray.
We're mostly talking about the world of dancers, but it's one of those things, it's kind of like modeling, where it's like, I've never been a model, but being in like TV and film, I have friends that are dancers and models, and like when I've been on set, the dancers work harder than everybody else. They always put the rest of us to shame. I remember being on Step Up. Those poor dancers just did take after god awful take.
Oh god. not that they were gosh awful, but just having to do it.
They were great. It was just, I felt bad for them to have to do it. Same thing with I was suspended for one day on Timmy Failure, and there was a dream sequence with all of these really experienced jazz dancers, and they were just so talented for such a goofy little scene.
Oh.
And they kept doing it over and over, and then everybody would be like, "Are you okay?" We're all like running around exhausted. They're like, "Yeah, we're good." It's just like, dancers are built different.
Well, it might be like in I, Tonya, where they had a professional ice skater doing the Tanya's routine. Or fun fact, that wasn't Margot Robbie doing all of that ice skating, but apparently she's like, "Oh, this is an easy day for me," and I'm like, what kind of stuff is she doing to where working on a film set is easy for her? Yeah. So I'm just imagining them being like, "Oh yeah, we're used to dancing 24 hours, but here we get breaks." But ooh. I don't know.
Yikes. Well, today we're talking about the world of the thing. We're going to go back to 2019 in the where is it? Oh, there it is. I'm like, where did I put it? Maybe we will go back to 2019.
Aren't we still technically stuck in 2013?
Oh yeah. At the time of recording this, you guys have just seen the previous. We filmed this on Saturdays. On Monday, like this past Monday, the Naked and Afraid episode was out. So thank you, Gabe, for that. Thank you, Spencer, for that. But
Prince Albert.
Oh God, we're never ever gonna live that down.
Sorry, Spencer.
But the at the end we just forgot to go back.
Yeah.
And so we're like, presumably, canonically, for that week until they see the new episode on Monday, we're just in 2013, which is a weird place to be.
I was still in college, so I was having a great time. Not that I party, but it was just really nice.
I was still 16 and deeply entrenched in evangelicalism, so I was having less of a fun time. That's going to come up too in this lawsuit.
Oh.
We're dealing with the Lizzo lawsuit, which is a current thing. It's not one of our like old school cases or anything, but it deals with things that happened up to 4 years ago. So we are going to go back to 2019.
Yay!
I think we've been to flash warning, by the way.
Oh, this is before the you know what that happened, so we're still living on a high before it all comes crashing down.
The delivery pan pizza?
The panorama.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I had a full ... Oh.
Sorry.
The
pan Demi Lovato.
Oh gosh, remember the Demi Lovato chapter of Imagines?
Oh God.
Just think, in 2019 we were years away from we're going back in time. Whoa.
I was like, we're not going back in time fast enough.
Oh.
There we go.
And here we are. Yay. Anyway.
Yeah, that was a lot. But today we're talking about something that's a lot in a different way. We're talking about Lizzo being sued. Well, first of all, let me back up. Everybody probably knows who Lizzo is, but Lizzo is she's a very famous pop star. She's a very successful pop star. She plays the crystal flute, which everybody was mad about for some reason. I don't know why.
Was it from a museum and someone else used it and they're like, she used it from a museum, but Kim Kardashian wearing Marilyn Monroe's dress, that's fine.
Yeah, she did.
But I don't know.
I'm not going to say a whole lot of, you're going to hear a lot of shady things about Lizzo today, but I will say on that particular note, there's a lot of things that people get mad at Lizzo for that are not valid. So now there is something to be valid about. So there's a lot of people that are like, oh, I knew it. It's like, you did not. You were mad at her for being a not size 2, person of color who was very successful singer. Some people. And now they're just like, she might be a bad person. I knew it. And it's just like, no.
Really? I've gone through all your Twitter history and you never said anything about these allegations. You were just saying that she's successful and she's not a size 2.
Yeah. Like the whole thing about like people hating somebody for stupid reasons, and then when they are found out to do something that is actually valid, being like, I knew it. It's just like, you did not know it. That doesn't make your previous criticisms valid now. That's not how that works. So that right out of the way. This is a new court filing where
I'm doing reactions to camera. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. No, I thought you were reacting to the thunder. I could hear the thunder really loud. Right outside this, on the other side of this wall, it's pouring down rain. So you might hear that a little bit. I hope it's calming. This is going to be a not calming story. This is a complaint that 3 of her former dancers filed together, basically claiming workplace harassment, workplace discrimination based on things like weight and race. And we start with religious persecution in the workplace and we get to false imprisonment. So there's going to be a lot. But just to give you the basics, there was, let me pull up, I had bookmarked Lizzo's Watch Out for the Big Girls, spelled with 3 L's in case anybody's taking notes. Or, sorry, spelled with 3 R's in girls, if anybody's taking notes. Lizzo's Watch Out for the Big Girls was a 2022 reality show. I believe there were people, like some of the people in this complaint were recruited through, is to my belief, but this is 2022, so I know some of the complaints are from earlier than that. So I'm gonna have to just check something real quick. I'm sorry, Spencer.
Sorry, Spencer.
I want to be correct about this.
We're jumping around in the TARDIS a little bit. Technical difficulties. Everything's fine. It's the thunder. It's fine.
It's the thunder.
Lightning. The way you love me is frightening. You better knock on wood. Sorry, I was watching part of the finale of season 15 of RuPaul's Drag Race, and they did that song for a lip sync song. They also did it in season 3 with Alexis Mateo versus Stacey Lane Matthews. So fun times, Drag Race, yay. Oh, and Lizzo was a guest judge on Drag Race twice.
Woo.
So that's some interesting facts for everyone out there.
See, I was really, and we'll get into this, but I was really sad to see the headlines because I really liked Lizzo. And I'm just like, aw, I don't want to hear that she's like horrible to people, but that's not an excuse to not believe people when they come forward and be like, somebody was shitty to me.
Yeah.
We don't do that here. So unfortunately, that is beside the point.
Innocent until proven guilty, but we're keeping an eye on this information here.
We believe accusers until we have a reason not to.
Exactly.
That's what we do. I think I sent this back a couple of years back. That's my mistake.
Oh, well, sorry.
I had one of my notes wrong in my notes, and it was. I don't think we're 2019. So I apologize.
Bye 2019. It's gonna suck in a little bit. Oh, you didn't hear me when I said that. Bye. We're
fast forwarding us up a little bit. All right. So in 2022, Lizzo has Watch Out for the Big Girls, a reality show where it was a dance competition for like plus size dancers. I did not watch it. And I don't know that there's much. I haven't seen anybody say anything about the actual show, like I haven't heard any tea from the actual set of the show, but I would be curious to hear about it. But things are coming out as we're speaking. There are things coming out. This is brand new, so you might have heard something about that by the time that this comes out, for reasons we'll get into. So basically, we're gonna start with, I have the court filings. I love public records.
Yay!
And we're just gonna read through it, because I figured I started taking some notes on things and summarizing, but I wanted to be able to like read the record put forth by the people accusing in their own words or their team's own words, and just go through this one thing at a time. Because while neither of us are dancers, there are several places where I was like, oh, I'm having flashbacks to the not good memories of. I have a lot of good memories from set, but there are some where I'm just like, oh, it was one of those. Oh, it was one of those situations. Okay. All right, introduction. This is an action brought forward by plaintiff Crystal Williams, Ariana Davis, and Noel Rodriguez, pursuant to California statutory, decisional, and regulatory laws. So they're bringing this lawsuit in California against, I believe, Lizzo as an individual, Lizzo's production company, and I think let me read a little further, Avery. Don't guess. You have the paper in front of you. Sorry, Spencer. Sorry, Spencer.
Sorry, Spencer.
I lost my place. I'm sorry, Spencer.
Oh, no. Oh, that reminds me of when on the Naked and Afraid podcast, I'm like, I lost my space, so I'm scrolling again. Sorry, Spencer.
Okay. At all times herein mentioned, plaintiffs Ms. Williams, Ms. Davis, and Ms. Rodriguez are and have been residents of the city of Los Angeles County, state of California. Defendants are BGBT, which is Big Girls Big Talent. I believe that's her company, Lizzo's company. And at all times herein mentioned, has been a Delaware corporation with the capacity to sue and being sued and doing business. Principal place of business located at, and then an address in Delaware. So this is, I'm not a lawyer. I've seen people like Emily D. Baker and Natalie Lawyerchick cover it, which is like, if you want like the legal aspect of it, there's this whole thing where like, it's a Delaware company, but they do business in California, so they're being sued in California. It's a whole thing. Also, a lot of these accusations take place all around the world, but it's being brought in front of California District Court because that's where the company is located. We're gonna go all around the world with this one.
Oh gosh, I'm imagining if it doesn't work out in one spot, you could just go to another spot and see if that court.
Yes, the third defendant besides Lizzo and Lizzo's company is Ms. Quigley, who is the dance. I don't want to say dance instructor. There's a better way to say this, but she's like in charge of like. I also don't want to say choreographer. I think she has a technical different title, but she's the choreographer basically. She's the dance captain. That might be exactly what they use, dance captain. I'm not a dancer. I apologize. Okay. Factual allegations. This court centers on 3 professional dancers' experiences working for Big Girl Big Touring Inc. Big Girl Big Touring. This is why I read further instead of guessing. I thought it was Big Girl Big Talent. It is Big Girl Big Touring. Hereinafter referred to as BGBT, and Melissa Vivienne Jefferson, professionally known and herein referred to as Lizzo. Side note, that has nothing to do with anything. I always thought Lizzo was short for Elizabeth. That's my middle name, and I was just like, it's been short for Melissa this whole time? I thought it was short for Elizabeth.
Oh, I never thought. I didn't know she had or I just thought her name was just Lizzo.
It's Melissa, but she goes by Lizzo. They're going to refer to her as Lizzo from here on out in the complaint, and then also the 3 defendants will be known by their last names: Ms. Davis, Ms. Williams, and Ms. Rodriguez. Also collectively referred to as plaintiffs. So, in or about March of 2021. Oh God, I went too far. I came too far up.
No.
Oh boy.
Well, we have to go back a little bit.
You know, we can.
Right back deeper into the panorama.
Cool.
It's like in. Never mind. Yeah.
What?
Never mind.
Okay. In or about March 2021, Ms. Davis, Ms. Williams were introduced to Lizzo when they were contestants on Lizzo's reality television show, Watch Out for the Big Girls. So, they're contestants on the show. They end up becoming full-time dancers for Lizzo as she's on a world tour. During the show, contestants competed for the opportunity to join the Lizzo team as her big girl dancers, accompanying Lizzo on her live performance and tours. I kind of want to watch the show now. I feel like I get better insight. In or about May of 2021, Ms. Davis was required by Lizzo and BGBT to submit a psychological evaluation to ensure she was psychologically healthy enough to endure the strain of filming a television show. This happens pretty standardly, right?
Yeah.
I would assume so. I know that we've talked about things like America's Next Top Model doing that. I kind of assume that's legally standard just because reality TV puts you through a lot. Let's see. Miss Davis disclosed that she struggled with anxiety, depression, which occasionally results in a trigger warning. We're going to be talking about mental health, different factions of abuse, and eating disorders. So I forgot to give that off the top. I want to give that now. So she disclosed that she deals with anxiety, depression, and binge eating disorder. She waived, signed a waiver so that production could like read the medical records and things like that. In or about May of 2021, Ms. Rodriguez was hired. Wait, I skipped something. I'm sorry, Spencer. Ms. Davis is informed and believes that her disclosure of her struggles with anxiety, depression, and binge eating were relayed to Lizzo and BGBT. So she believes that everybody who is a player in this knows going forward that she's struggling. So that is going to play into why the claims are coming. Which, again, I don't know. I've never been on reality TV. I know that everybody's like, ooh, everything. They will use everything against you in reality TV.
Yeah, I remember Lisa from Cycle 5 of America's Next Top Model revealed something to like the psychologist that she was talking to, and then like someone from production brought it up and she's like, wait, what? I thought this was like between me and the psychologist or the psychiatrist or whomever.
Nope.
They will use it against you. If you're ever on reality TV, they will use anything and everything against you.
And that's not in any way to say that any of these plaintiffs did anything wrong by disclosing it. It shouldn't be used against you. It's just...
Oh, this is a warning.
It's a warning, yeah. For people in the future. This is the cautionary tale. In or about May of 2021, Ms. Rodriguez was hired by Lizzo. So two of the complaints come from... Or two of the people alleging misconduct are from her reality show. The other one was just hired, just the old-fashioned way, I guess.
Didn't have to go through a show to get there.
Initially, she was brought on to perform in Lizzo's Rumors music video, but she remained with Lizzo and BGBT as part of her performance group, supporting Lizzo in her live concerts as well. While working on the Rumors music video, Ms. Rodriguez was approached with another job opportunity that would have run concurrently to rehearsals for Lizzo's live show and tour. After rehearsals for Lizzo's live shows were postponed, Ms. Rodriguez approached Lizzo's tour manager, Carlina Gugliotta, I hope I'm saying that right, hereinafter referred to as Ms. Gugliotta, about possibly taking this one-day job opportunity. Ms. Gugliotta responded, "Do you want the job or not?" implying that if Ms. Rodriguez wanted to keep her position at a tour as a tour dancer, she could not take any other positions. This happens a lot with extra work too. Any set work. Like, oh my God, I remember I was working on show, and show had me on hold, which is basically just they're not paying you. Like I wasn't on official hold. I wasn't being paid, but I was, it was one of those things where it's like, we might need you, so don't take any work for 2 weeks. And it's like, okay, but then I'm not working for 2 weeks. Like, it's, like, I get that, like, they want to have the schedule open because they don't know what's going to happen, but also, like, people have rent and bills, so it's kind of like, at a certain point, it becomes very unfair to say, and it's unfortunately industry standard, and this happens to actors, this happens to extras, this happens to everybody, unfortunately, that pretty much everybody has been in a position where it's just like, I guess I'll just gamble on making rent this week, because otherwise they're gonna fire me, which feels weird. Like if you worked at like, a Kroger or any other kind of retail store, and you were just kind of like a Christmas time employee, like a seasonal employee, and then they only had you working like a couple of days. See, Thor's mad. Thor's mad that people don't get to be paid and get the decent work. But like, it would be kind of weird if like you took another like part-time job that had nothing to do with anything, and they're like, "We're firing you because we didn't give you work, and nobody else can give you work on Wednesday either."
Yeah, and it's there are some extras that are like, yeah, but I did it anyway, and they never found out, and it's just like, oh, I would be so scared that they would be like, we need you, and I'm somewhere else, and I'm just like, oh no.
Yeah, it's really hard. It's kind of like the old timey stories about like, you're moonlighting, see? But it's just like, I can't tell my boss that I'm also working here. But it's like, you kind of have to, unless you want to gamble just not getting work. And that's not a good system for anybody. And that's like an industry-wide thing that I think we need to be talking about. Because it sucks. Like this sucks. Like she was put in a position where she was just like, it's only one day and rehearsals were postponed. And they were like, no, we'll fire you if you take that job, which sucks. Just because it's common doesn't mean it sucks less, you know?
Yeah.
So then, on or about July 28th, 2021, Ms. Rodriguez was officially booked by Lizzo and BGBT to perform with Lizzo at several music festivals. In or about August of 2021, filming for Watch Out for the Big Girls began in August of 2021. So during filming for the show, Ms. Davis and Ms. Williams were first introduced to defendant Shirlene, I hope I'm saying this right, Quigley, hereinafter Ms. Quigley. Now, Quigley is a very interesting person. Quigley this is just me interjecting from what I know outside of this lawsuit. Quigley is hyper religious, which is like, fine, have whatever religion you want, but like she shoves it. We come to learn that she likes to shove it down everybody's throat, including the people who are working under her. So it's like, it's a very bad like workplace harassment or like religious persecution thing that ends up being alleged here. But I'm
listening. I just want to do a few like
oh no, I know you're sorry. Yeah. I was just trying to get my bearings. Also,
no,
again, go to Emily D. Baker or Natalie Lauren Chick. Honestly, I've been watching both of them. They've both been covering it super well so far this case, and they, being lawyers, have a lot of insight that I don't have. And one of the things that they noticed was that this was not, when this formal complaint that I'm reading was submitted, it hadn't been signed yet, which means the press got a hold of it before the courts got a hold of it. And whether that means anything to anybody or not, that's just a thing that people have been talking about. People have been saying, this strategy seems to be... which I didn't even think about this, but I've heard lawyers talking about it's a common strategy to sometimes in cases to, really, really get out the media first and foremost. Like it's a strategy, right? To kind of get your side out there, which I have no comment on whether that's good or bad for anybody's case. I'm not a lawyer. I've noticed people pointing that out. And I think people want to try to discredit the people bringing these allegations by being like, well, see, that means it's not real because it got to the media so fast. And it's like, well, I don't think all that. Like, yeah. That seems a little bit far-fetched to say that just because of this, like, this doesn't have any merit, because there are several claims being claimed that I think seem to, according to this, hold some weight. We haven't seen any, court dates or evidence or anything like that. But as of right now, the evidence is not the evidence is not looking good.
Yeah.
So again, stop trying to discredit people. Let's do some reading of the case.
Yeah, educate yourself.
Make your opinion based on your case, not because you like the person or don't like the person who's, being accused. That's not really the way that we do things or should do things.
Oh gosh, can you imagine if court cases were just if the judge likes the person or not? I believe you because you seem cooler. And I'm sure so many people are like, It's like science. Science cares only about the facts, not your feelings.
Yeah. And in court cases, like, we don't know if this is going to go to court or be settled or whatever, but, like, you don't want to speak too soon because, like, if a court date does happen, there might be things that had come out where we're like, oh, this puts this into perspective or that puts that into perspective. But like, so far, this is what we have to go on. It's very detailed, and I believe them. I don't have any reason not to believe them. So just PSA, stop trying to discredit people online.
Yeah, just keep an open mind and just look at the facts.
Yep. In or about, okay, Ms. Quigley. One of the judges and instructors on the show and captain of Lizzo's dance team. So she is the dance captain. This is Quigley. Quigley was not only vocal about her religious beliefs, but took every opportunity to proselytize to any and all in her presence, regardless of protestations. During filming of Watch Out for the Big Girls, Ms. Quigley took particular interest. This is going to get extra gross. I'm so sorry. She took particular interest in Miss Davis and regularly preached to Miss Davis about what Ms. Quigley believed to be a shared Christian identity. So, like, she was just like, one plaintiff, Ms. Davis, one of the plaintiffs, is or was, by appearance to Quigley, also a Christian. So, like, she was always trying to talk about religion to this person. Even to this person was just like, okay, but we're at work. Like, that's the vibe that I'm getting from the way that this is phrased, but it gets worse. Also, during filming, Ms. Quigley discovered that Ms. Davis was a virgin, and Ms. Davis's virginity became a topic of extreme importance to Ms. Quigley. In the months to follow, this is a judge on the show that she's competing on. So, in the months to follow, Ms. Quigley would routinely bring up Ms. Davis's virginity in conversations with Ms. Davis. Ms. Quigley even mentioned Ms. Davis's virginity in interviews she participated in and later posted to social media, broadcasting an intensely personal detail about Ms. Davis to the world. Ms. Davis never gave Ms. Quigley permission to share this private detail about Ms. Davis's life. Can you imagine? Imagine if this was America's Next Top Model, right? Imagine Tyra being like, and I like that girl. She's never had sex before.
Oh gosh, in cycle 8.
Oh no,
this didn't happen, but you know the infamous like I think I'm a harlot thing because there was in cycle 8 there was the girl who she was from a small town and she was reserved, and so there's literally a point during her photo shoot where Mr. J, or she's supposed to be playing like the bad girl in high school, so she's wearing kind of revealing clothing and she's not really that comfortable, and Mr. J just offhandedly is like, oh, just pretend you're alone and you're and she was just very uncomfortable. And then in panel, Tyra's like, oh, you need to go for it because there are times where you do like your poses would be good, but you'd be unsure of yourself. And I'm just like, I just felt so bad for her.
That's so awkward.
And it's just like, what are you supposed to do when the person who's your creative director is just like, just pretend you're. And then Tyra's just like, just pretend more to be like a harlot. And it's just like, so I understand. And also for the people who are like, why is he making faces every time religion is brought up? I have no problem with religion. Just don't try to shove it down my throat or tell me this is what's going to happen to me because I don't have the same belief system.
Yeah, it's one of those things like being vegan, right? If you're vegan, I totally respect you. Good for you. I'm not vegan. I only have a problem with vegans who are like, you need to be vegan because meat is like murdering somebody if you eat bacon ever. And it's just like, okay, Charlene, calm down.
There's going to be a Charlene out there who's again.
Not like, you, Charlene. I'm sure you're a lovely Charlene. I know many great Charlenes. But yeah, it's one of those things. It's like, religion is cool. Whatever religion you have, whatever you believe in, just don't be the person that's like, but have you found Jesus? Because it's just like, you keep losing him. And that's, the thing that's like, you lost him again?
We must find him. Why? You found him 10 minutes ago. And people who use religion as a reason to be mean to other people is very not
if you're
okay.
like, I'm religious, so I don't support gay people, then that's just not you being religious.
And they're like,
you being a jerk.
And then they're like, the Bible, but then it's like, it's a mistranslation of the Bible, but some people just don't want to do their research, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, continue.
Yeah, so Quigley is broadcasting this woman's virginity to the entire world. Okay. As one of the competitions in Watch Out for the Big Girls, contestants were told Um, they would be required to participate in a nude photo shoot. This feels very. I'm having America's Next Top Model flashbacks. While some contestants were not bothered by this, the prospect of a nude photo shoot made other contestants severely uncomfortable. Ms. Davis was particularly distressed by this challenge. She was entirely uncomfortable being photographed nude for anyone with access to Amazon Prime Video to see. Very fair. As this challenge, in quotes, was part of the competition, Miss Davis believed poor performance or outright refusal would be resulted in Miss Davis being sent home from the show and no longer being considered for a spot on the dance team. While Miss Davis did not want to be photographed nude, she also dreaded the thought of not earning a spot performing on tour with Lizzo. We've talked about this before. People try to put you on spot, like extras. Again, extras. I feel like actors, most people in the industry, sadly, have gone through this where somebody has at one point tried to put you on the spot to be naked or almost naked, and you're like, I didn't agree to that. And then you're like, but then they're like, oh, well, you're not a team player. And it's just like, you gotta tell me. Like, you have to disclose that to somebody beforehand.
Luckily, that's never happened to me, and I was very fortunate because I was getting a fitting for a show, and there was a point where they're like, "Oh, there's a there's like a swimming pool scene." I'm like, "I'm not really comfortable taking my shirt off. Can I wear this?" And they're like, "Sure." And so I'm just like, "Yay! Why can't we have more of that?" But yeah, just hearing stories, and it's just like you shouldn't force people to do what they're not comfortable with, kind of thing.
I'd be interested to know. My instinct tells me that they might have done that reality show thing where they didn't disclose anything because they wanted the hashtag drama of like them being scared and not wanting to do it. I would be interested to know how often in your contract it says you may be like by signing this you agree that you consent to the possibility of like nude or almost nude. Like I would love to know like with America's Next Top Model and all that stuff. I would wonder how often they do their due diligence with that. Yeah, because I know that like in this industry, people really pressure you into just signing everything without reading it. But like, I wonder if it was one of those things that was like slipped into the teeny tiny print, or if they just
Yeah.
didn't say anything at all.
Yeah, we need to find those contracts. I remember there was even an episode of America's Next Top Model where they're even told about like the dangers of signing a contract without reading it and stuff like that. And it's
That made
just
me a
like,
little bit annoyed. I don't think I said this in the actual podcast episode we did about the first three cycles, but it was annoying because I mean they're correct. You shouldn't sign anything without reading it. But also, I guarantee, well, I can't guarantee because I wasn't there, but in my experience, a lot of call times are early in the morning and then somebody shoves you like an NDA in your face. It's just like, you have to sign this or we're going to blacklist you. Like, you have to sign it because you're already here. So you just sign it, not like having time because they're like, we're waiting for you. You need to go. You need to go. You go. It's like this 3-page fine print thing. You're not going to even have time to read all that. So it's just like, I wonder if that was the culture of their season of America's Next Top Model at any point, and they felt like, oh, I have to sign it because I've been made to feel pressured into signing things before. I don't know. I've just known things like that happen to me. So I'm like, ooh, I'm sure they're not like dumb, right? To
Yeah.
like sign something. They probably just felt like they had to. Which is another thing that we don't talk about enough about the industry. Oh no, I just skipped ahead. Hang on, sorry, I'm going back.
Sorry, Spencer. Oh yeah, and then it turns out in the contracts they sign at the very end, it's like these are null and void, even though we made you jump around every time
Yeah.
every time we said top model, and it's just like, but
Yeah, because just because you write a contract doesn't mean it's going to legally hold up. You could
Yeah.
put anything in a contract. You could be like, I own your children now. That doesn't hold up in court.
yeah.
Sorry,
We
go
need to
ahead.
see the wording of the contract that it's like you have to do this kind of thing, or if it's like you may be told there's a possibility, but it's very interesting to be like,
Yeah, if this were to go to court, I could imagine Lizzo's team arguing that like they were never told they had to do any of the things that are now being alleged. That's
yeah,
all in their head, and it's like I would like to know. It's muddy, right? Because when your boss tells you you could do something, right, the tone of their voice could change it from a question to a demand, right? We just need to know more. But again, I fully I fully believe them that they were put in these very uncomfortable situations and that the company is at fault for this because I've been there And so, until I have a good reason to believe otherwise, I fully believe the things alleged in this, personally. Draw your own conclusions, obviously. Read, educate yourself, do all the things. Don't just take my word for it. But, I mean, this is the complaint. This is why I wanted to read right from the complaint. The dilemma caused, so this is about her having to pose nude. The dilemma caused Miss Davis's anxiety to flare, resulting in extreme distress. Ms. Davis broke down into tears on set while struggling to choose between a once-in-a-lifetime career opportunity or putting her body on display against her will. Totally understandable. That would be immensely stressful. Ultimately, Miss Davis was allowed to participate in the photo shoot partially clothed in a nude bra and underwear. However, this experience foreshadowed the sexually charged and uncomfortable environment Lizzo's employees would be forced to endure. I'm glad that they accommodated them. I would like to know at what point did they accommodate them, right? Because if she broke down crying, they might have tried to force her into it, and then she just was like, it was affecting her too much, and then they might have been like, fine, you could wear the nude colored bra as a treat, right?
Yeah.
That's a very different, they accommodated her to, them up front being like, we can accommodate you for this. I would like to know what, I'm glad that they accommodated her, but I'm afraid that they might have put her through more stress than was obviously necessary before offering to accommodate her.
Yeah, I'm just... Our production was probably like, oh, we know she has anxiety and she's really uncomfortable doing this. Let's not mention the fact that we can give her the bra and panties until after we get that good TV moment.
Yeah, because it's reality TV. That's what they do. They're like, ooh, maybe she'll have a panic attack on camera.
Oh gosh, cycle 16 of America's Next Top Model.
I haven't gotten there yet.
It's a trip.
I'm scared. Watch out for the big girls wrapped filming in or about late September 2021. Ms. Davis and Ms. Williams were both selected to be part of the dance cast accompanying Lizzo on tour. I wonder how that worked. There were two winners? Or maybe they had a winner and then Lizzo was just like, I want this other person?
I remember on the Glee Project season 1, the final 4, they had 2 winners who got a 7-episode arc, and then for the 2... for the 3rd and 4th placing ones, they gave them 2-episode arcs.
Okay.
And so I can see them being like, depending on you won outright, but we also want you kind of thing. But it's you technically won the show, but you're both working with us.
Yeah. It goes without saying. This is all alleged. It goes without saying because this is just a court filing. I should have said this at the top, but again, this is a court filing, not a past court case, so all of this is alleged in the eyes of the law. For legal reasons, we weren't there. I should have said that off the top, but I kind of assumed that everybody was on the same page as me because I'm reading the complaint, but it is just a complaint legally at this point. Ms. Williams, Ms. David, and Ms. Rodriguez all performed with Lizzo at her festival appearances from September 21 through April of 2022. In or about April of 2022, plaintiffs began rehearsing in preparation for Lizzo's The Special Tour. During this time, plaintiffs worked closely with Ms. Quigley as she was captain of the dance cast, the super Christian one. Ms. Quigley continued to preach at everyone in her surroundings, especially about her beliefs regarding... I'm sorry, this is going to get gross again. Especially regarding Christianity and sexuality. Ms. Quigley often made comments deriding people who engaged in premarital sex. Knowing that some members of the dance crew did not share her views, Ms. Quigley also had a party trick in which she would... Oh, God. I'm not trying not to laugh because it's funny. It's just so absurd. She had a party trick where she would simulate oral sex on a banana in front of the rest of the dance cast. There, I said it. I'm sorry. She would simulate oral sex on a banana. But she also was mad at people who had sex not married. I'm getting mixed signals from Quigley. I don't know what to believe.
Well, I'm sure there's someone who's like, well, it's not, or the Bible doesn't say it's not okay, so I don't know.
It gets worse.
Oh,
well,
no.
It doesn't get, well, it gets weirder in a different but tangential way. Because imagine your boss. I don't know if she was technically considered their boss, but like they were reporting to her. So like imagine your boss or your supervisor doing this in front of like the whole of the office. Be weird.
Yeah.
It's weird if it's not. The thing about party tricks is they're usually best at parties when everybody's on the same page.
Yeah, with your friends
With your
who
friends.
will see the humor in it, not people who you're preaching to and might find this highly uncomfortable.
These instances were always unprompted and made plaintiffs uncomfortable. I'm picturing them just rehearsing, and she's like, "Guys, look at this."
And I have no problem with what she's doing. I have a problem with the hypocrisy, the potential hypocrisy, and the inappropriateness of the time and place.
It's the inappropriateness of the non-consent, and it's the hypocrisy.
Yes.
The actual thing is whatever.
Yeah.
But you know, going forward, Ms. Quigley's sexually inappropriate behavior did not stop at faux fellatio. Hey guys, God, this is a good time to also say, don't let your children watch this particular episode, please.
Which episode is good for kids?
No. Yeah.
Maybe. Oh, the one coming up.
Oh yeah, Monday's one is just about Emperor's New Groove. That was just funny.
Yeah.
There's a lot there, but I don't think it goes above PG-13.
Maybe people will find the interesting thing on YouTube that you found and now is our favorite thing that, you know, I can't talk about because it'll ruin the surprise. Oh wait, they would have already seen it by now. The song.
Yeah. Yeah. Stuff Out in the Light. Good song.
Oh, it's so good. Eartha Kitt is awesome.
I have to send you. There's
Sting.
somebody did an animatic of it because we haven't seen the episode, or we haven't seen the scene, but the scene was all but animated, so people have like done their own versions of like what the animation would have looked like. It looked really cool.
Oh, that's cool. Anyway.
Miss Quigley's sexually inappropriate behavior did not stop at faux fellatio, despite her staunch beliefs in opposition to premarital sex. She had no problem sharing her masturbatory habits with dance casts, often stating things to the effect of, "Oh God, I've already read this, and it's masturbating is against my religion, but today I had an oopsie." Is things that she would say to her coworkers / underlings. We don't need to know that. I wish I didn't know that. Ha! You know the the Gabe was too stunned to speak. You know the SpongeBob meme where Squidward just opens up his skull, takes out his brain, and throws it in the trash.
Yes.
Yeah, that's how I feel upon reading that. Imagine hearing it at work. Ew.
Okay.
Ms. Quigley's sexually explicit comments were so pervasive, the entire dance team knew about her sexual fantasy of having 10 penises in her face.
Where's that? I believe her name is Tati. She's a makeup influencer, and she's like, time and place.
And you did it on my birthday.
Oh, yeah, my birthday dinner.
Birthday dinner.
Now I just want to be like, really? Right in front of my salad? You guys are disgusting.
Yeah.
But anyway.
To be clear, none of the workplace harassment is funny. It's just absurd.
It's absurd. Nervous laughter.
Nervous laughter.
Also,
not to be this person, because, like, I don't really care. But if you're so upset about people having sex when they're not married, 10 penises means that you're not married to at least 9 of those people.
Well, I'm sure there's something in the Bible that might be like, you can have multiple husbands, but I'm just like...
No, you can have multiple wives. I don't think women had a whole lot of biblical equality.
True. How could I forget?
Yes.
But just... hypocrisy. Hypocrisy. Anyway.
I'm thinking of it to the tune of Under the Sea. Hypocrisy.
Darling, it's better. Downward something. Take it from me. I don't know.
Similar to Miss Quigley's constant sexually inappropriate comments, Miss Quigley's ministering to plaintiffs was ceasing, Ms. Quigley continued to keep tabs on Ms. Davis's virginity and made it clear Ms. Quigley thought the only way one could be a proper Christian, that's in italics, proper Christian, was through similar abstinence. Ms. Quigley also singled out Ms. Rodriguez as a non-believer and made it her mission to preach at Ms. Rodriguez. Ms. Quigley even told the other dance cast members it was her mission to minister to Ms. Rodriguez during the tour. When cast members told Ms. Rodriguez of Ms. Quigley's intent, Ms. Rodriguez specifically requested that Ms. Quigley refrain from impressing her religious beliefs upon Ms. Rodriguez. Ms. Quigley became irate, yelling at Ms. Rodriguez. At one point while on tour, Ms. Quigley stated, "No job and no one will stop me from talking about the Lord." I've known so many people like this in my life.
Oh gosh, I don't want to say what happened because I'm sure the person might eventually listen, but there have been times where I'm just like, so uncomfortable.
Well, it all comes back to consent, right? Being a Christian is fine. Forcing other people to be Christians is not fine.
Yeah, and just
Making them feel bad for not being a Christian, not fine. Also, I love the only way to be a proper Christian is abstinence, like me, who pretends to do oral sex with a banana and talks about 10 penises in my face.
But I haven't done it, so it doesn't count.
It's just I'm getting mixed messages is what I'm getting.
Or she can do whatever she wants, but
Yeah.
if you're not doing specifically what she wants, then or it's like that scene in West Wing where the president or the woman, there's the one woman who's just like, oh, or she's like disrespecting him and she's like, oh, I don't believe homosexuality is bad, the Bible does, and he's just like, well, my brother worked on the Sabbath. Should I cast the first stone or should someone else? My youngest daughter, she's fluent in Italian and does this. Something about selling her off to the highest bidder.
Yeah.
And then at the end he's just like, when the president enters the room, one must show him respect or something like that. And it was just like, yeah.
Yeah.
And he like quoted the Bible back at her, and it's just like
King.
Yay.
I don't know if that character was even like a good like a good character or a bad character. I like that. Somebody's gonna be like, that character killed 2 people, and I'm gonna be like, I rescind my king comment.
If we learn he does something bad, we'll be like, okay, but that one time where he told off that one
good.
woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On one occasion while on tour, Miss Quigley interrogated Miss Davis about her religious beliefs while in the dressing room during their makeup. Doing their makeup in advance of the show, Miss Quigley began stating her own religious beliefs and asking Miss Davis if she held the same beliefs. When Miss Davis expressed a different belief than Miss Quigley became visibly upset, making it abundantly clear that she expected Miss Davis's total conformity to Miss Quigley's dogma. While Miss Quigley was for sure the most extreme in her religious convictions, her sentiments were softly echoed by others in supervisory roles at BGBT. Before rehearsals and performances, the dance team would pray together, which is common. But, you should be giving people an out if they don't want to do it, hopefully. Although it doesn't sound like they were given one. While it was not an official requirement for team members to participate in these prayers, it became clear that engagement was compulsory. There you go. The responsibility to lead the group in prayer rotated around the dancers, and when it was Ms. Rodriguez's turn, she politely and clearly made it known that she did not want to lead the prayer, despite Ms. Rodriguez's declining every time she was asked. Ms. Quigley continued to pressure Rodriguez to participate and made Ms. Rodriguez feel judged for declining to lead the dance cast in prayer. Side note, I worked in nonprofit work for 5 years. It happened to be a Christian-led group, but they had a very big policy about like not ministering to people, especially when you're providing them services, because obviously you don't, just for moral reasons, forget legal reasons, you don't want anybody to feel like they have to be any certain religion to receive the service that they need from you. And I always respected that of them because back then I was still like going to church and stuff, but I never believed in like, definitely not this. But we had this one pastor. We'll call him Pastor Ryan. Pastor Ryan did not really know how to do anything but be like a very pastory pastor. He was mad that we didn't like pray, like grandstanding, or like teach people about religion. And we're like, we're just here to give people food, Ryan. That's kind of the whole of our job. And so he was letting us use his like the front lawn of his church once a month for this block party so that people could come and get food. And he like threatened to pull the plug on that if we didn't let him preach in front of people. And the board was like, okay, maybe if we just let him be like over there, it's his church, and then people can just walk, people who don't want to be there don't have to be there. And it was very clear that he did not jive with anybody not being there, right? Present for his. So we were like, we're just going to find a different place. There are other places. This is Georgia. There's like too many churches. Yeah. I didn't like Pastor Ryan. Pastor Ryan was not a great person.
That just reminds me of at the college I went to, there was like a First Amendment. There was something where people could go to the flagpole and preach what they wanted. There was someone very controversial who used to preach there, and it made a lot of people very uncomfortable. And it was pretty much someone telling a lot of people that they're going to the bad place because they're not doing everything they're not, because they've done something on like this list of things. And my friends would take pictures and be like, did that, whoopsies. And I'm just like, okay.
Ew.
And I've also had uncomfortable conversations where people have like tried to go in depth on my religion, and I'm just like, and I'm not giving them the answers they want, but I can't get out of the conversation. So I'm just like, mm-hmm. So the amount of kindness I've shown people up to that point just means nothing to them. So I'm just like,
I hate that. Also, poor Ms. Rodriguez. Ms. Rodriguez was struck by Ms. Quigley's insistence on overstepping. Accordingly, Ms. Rodriguez took her concerns to the assistant choreographer, Melissa Charlotte, hereafter referred to as Ms. Charlotte. Ms. Charlotte showed some empathy for Ms. Rodriguez's concern, but merely suggested that Ms. Rodriguez take her complaints to Ms. Quigley herself. A wholly useless tactic at raising concerns with Ms. Quigley had never proven productive. That sounds like a bad idea. That sounds like a very unproductive and at times volatile idea.
That sounds like I don't want to have to deal with this. You deal with this. This is not my problem kind of thing.
Yeah. On another occasion, while on tour with Lizzo, Ms. Williams accidentally brushed up against one of the tour bus drivers. The driver responded by saying, this is going more to her sexual harassment claim. So far, we haven't gotten anything that Lizzo has done specifically, but all of this is like, these people are all hired by Lizzo, so they didn't remedy any of these situations either. We'll get to the things that Lizzo herself is accused of doing, but just to be clear, I know some people are like, but this isn't Lizzo. It's like, okay, but like, she's also like, not remedying any of these situations, allegedly, which is why this is important. So Ms. Williams accidentally brushed up against one of the tour bus drivers. The driver responded by saying, you can back up on me again, implying Ms. Williams' accidental touch gave him sexual gratification. A different driver was known for playing sexually explicit songs on tour bus. That feels like that might not be as necessarily as bad. We need context for that one, because if they're just playing like pop music could be, a lot of it is sexually explicit. It could have been Lizzo's music, so like not discounting that happened. I just have questions in like what context sexually explicit music was playing. Was it just like a playlist that like everybody was just like, this song is great, and it's just like, ooh.
Or just kind of like driving and looking back while the song is playing.
Yeah, were there comments being made, right? Where there, I just need more context on that one. Well, I don't, because I'm not going to be on this jury, but just curiosity, I have to wonder. Anyway, moving on. A different driver was known for playing. These interactions made the dance cast incredibly uncomfortable and feared for their safety. So that's concerning. I would like to know more about this incident. Ms. Davis and Ms. Rodriguez reported the driver's inappropriate behavior to BGBT manager management on multiple occasions, but BGBT never did anything to protect the dancers. Management merely questioned whether the drivers were drunk and or driving safely and did nothing to make the dancers any safer than they did prior to reporting the drivers' behavior. After several reports, Ms. Davis and Ms. Rodriguez's management began denying ever hearing about the driver's inappropriate behavior. So they took it to management. The management was like, but were they drunk driving? And they're like, no, that's not what we're here about. They're like, then we can't do anything. And then later on, when other people started questioning, they're like, we never heard anything about that. I had to, when I was working as an extra on other show, there was this extra who was being incredibly inappropriate and hitting on minors. Yeah, he was like 20 something and he was trying to pick up a 15-year-old. And I actually met one of my good friends to this day, Harry and a Hook. Harry and a Hook and I met because we both were trying to report this one specific guy, and other women were trying to report this one specific guy because he was either bothering them or they saw him bothering literal children, and we're just like, somebody needs to do something about this. This PA comes walking over to me, practically an earshot of the guy that's being reported, and it's just like, okay, but like, did you actually see it? And I was like, yes. And he's like, he looks me in the eye and he goes, is it possible that you maybe misunderstood? And I was just like, you know what? Fine. You can, I'm like the sixth person that's told you about this. We can't, what do you think? We're all coordinated like in our free time, which we don't have any of on this 14-hour-a-day set, just being like, yeah, let's corroborate our stories and get that guy fired. What? The one of the 15-year-old that I saw him bothering, her mom actually took her off the set, which I felt very bad that had to happen, but at least the child was safe and removed from that situation. I am very angry and was very angry at the time that the mother had to do that because he was reported, the PA didn't do anything, and then somebody was like, well, does anybody know who her mother is? Because if that was happening to my child and everybody knew and didn't tell me, I would be pissed. So,
oh gosh,
yeah, it was a lot.
I remember one time. Well, I remember I was on a set and there was this one guy who was being so creepy, and there was this one individual who had spoken of past trauma, and she was like, "This is reminding me of that trauma."
Yeah.
And so there's a point where me and a group of people are talking, and we see her and this creepy guy, and we're just like gesturing her over, like, "Hey, oh my gosh, come over here." And we're like, "Are you okay?" And she's like, "Yeah, I'm fine. Just thank you for getting me out of there." And there was another time where I was on a set and there was I'm sure this can be cut out if it's like too much, but there's a point where some confetti is falling and I'm talking to someone and it like falls on the front of her shirt, and the creepy guy tries to brush it off, and it's like right on the front of her shirt.
Yeah.
And she and I are just looking at each other and I'm like, oh my gosh, Dragon Con. I love Dragon Con. And we just kind of turned away from him and he went away. But I'm just like,
extras casting companies not properly vetting people and letting predatory people on set could be a whole different episode, to be quite honest.
Oh, isn't there? Oh gosh, I remember there's this one guy who was involved in a lot of drama where he was like notorious for like flirting with a bunch of women at the same time, and there was some incident that happened, and then there was a big incident that happened and everybody knew of this incident, but he was still not blacklisted, and it's just like,
yeah. And then they get blacklisted, but then they just kind of wait it out, and a couple months later the casting company just forgets and just hires him back on.
Yeah. And I remember there was a Facebook group of individuals who are mainly women who would be like, there's this creepy guy, then this creepy guy, but then it just kind of apparently it like devolved into we don't like this person just because, I don't know.
Yeah, but it was meant to be, it started as like a safety thing for like people to kind of share their experiences with each other and kind of keep especially younger, newer extras safer, because those guys could always pick out who the newbies were, and we're just like, oh, I know the ropes, I'll show you the ropes. And then like quarters young women and they're like 45 and it's just like but then it just kind of became a gossip page, and that's when I was like, okay, I'm unfollowing this page. It was helpful at one point.
Yeah, I remember a story from Hariyama,
Haryana.
Haryana, where she was talking about how she was on a set and it was a swimming pool scene, and she was talking with her friends, and they were in swimsuits, and there was an older gentleman in the pool who was just like
Ugh,
looking at them
creepy.
and like being creepy, and it's like, don't be creepy.
It's
Do
so
not be
easy not to be
creepy.
creepy.
If people are turning away from you and not making eye contact and not really engaging in the conversation, and people are whispering and turning and pointing at you, then maybe just leave them alone.
Yeah.
I don't. It's just like, you should know, but they don't know. But no, just like, be vigilant. Don't be weird.
Yeah. It's real. Only you can prevent you from being creepy to other people.
There needs to be like a class or something. I don't know.
It's sad that we need a class, but you're right.
Just all men. I know, not all men, but just men.
It can be women too. Sometimes women
Yeah.
are creepy. Just don't be creepy to other people.
Speaking as a man, I'm like, yeah, men can be like,
Yeah. Anyway,
yeah.
as the domestic leg of the special tour came to a close, problems became more abundant, with the last domestic show being played on or about November 19th, 2022. European leg not scheduled to start until February 2023. Plaintiffs began looking for other work, as they were only paid for the time they spent on tour. BGBT preferred plaintiffs did not take on additional gigs, or even instructed plaintiffs' agents to place plaintiffs on a soft hold, meaning plaintiffs would not be paid during the break, but should not be taking on other jobs either. Due to BGBT's soft prohibition on plaintiffs and their team members taking on other jobs, they became wholly financially dependent on the income they received due to their performances on the special tour. The dancers then learned that the musicians and other members of the tour were on a retainer, in which they were paid a portion of their tour rate while on break from tour in exchange for not taking other jobs. I feel like this is the best solution to the problem, right? I totally understand productions needing people to have clear schedules, but you gotta pay them at least something. Even if it's not like their full rate, because it's like, okay, they're literally not working. Just like enough to like make it so that they can live while you're like waiting on them to give you work. They just started discussing amongst themselves how they would negotiate for a retainer of their own. These discussions continued throughout the start of the European leg of the tour. Making matters more stressful, plaintiffs and the dance cast were only ever given 2 weeks advance notice that they were booked for 2 performances. Happens a lot. I hate it a lot. The lack of not knowing where you're going to work tomorrow is one of the many reasons why people leave the extra or, entertainment business altogether, because it happens no matter where you are on the ladder. The lack of notice placed plaintiffs in a sort of purgatory, not knowing whether they should start looking for other jobs or wait for Lizzo's performance to resume. All the flashbacks. So many flashbacks.
Oh gosh. Luckily, when I was what's it called? When I was core background on a TV show for a while, we were lucky enough to where they're like, even days where you're not needed, we'll pay you the full rate.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and
Nice.
so that got a lot of people's loyalty. But then what kind of lost the loyalty a little bit is like, here, come back, but we're changing your role to something else, and it's just like, and then during the last season, communication almost fully broke down, and we're getting call times at 10 o'clock at night for 6 or 7 a.m. call times, and there are people who have to drive an hour to get to set, and we're called in an hour and 45 minutes before the call time, and we the background are just standing there, and we're just going, you are all very lucky. We are very loyal to this show, because there are a bunch of people that were like, I can't deal with this, and had to leave just because they had to travel such a long distance and they couldn't feasibly like get enough sleep and be able to get there with enough time, even though there were some people who were chronically late and didn't get in trouble for it, but that's fine. But yeah, it's just like,
somebody on that core is going to send it to somebody else and be like, you, and they're just going to be like, oh no.
Well, I'm not saying anyone in particular, and if you were late chronically, then that's not my fault. Is chronically the right word to use? They are consistently.
Consistently, yeah.
Yeah. Chronically, consistently. But I'm sure someone's going to be in my DMs and be like, how dare you? I'm insulted. And I'm like, Well, it's not my fault you were late.
You shouldn't
Sorry.
have been late. Don't be insulted if you're going to be late.
Don't be late.
I'm kidding.
Steven Jr. says, don't be late.
On or about February 7th, 2023. Yay, we made it back to 2023.
Yay.
It's been such a good year. It hasn't been. Well, there have been worse years.
True, but I'm sure the writers and actors are like, but the strike. Well, early 2023 was fine.
Yeah, it's been a lot of striking. Please pay your writers.
Please
pay your actors.
Please pay people what they're owed, and pay people on retainers so they're not struggling to pay their bills.
You see that?
Yeah, I think. Oh, everything's fine. Sorry, we're looking at a TV screen with Abigail Clancy from Britain's Next Top Model, and the screen kind of went staticky and then stopped. So
it's just the ghosts wanting to tell us that we're here. You know that they're here.
Tech ghosts. Just don't mention. Never mind. Don't mention the thing.
On or about February 7th of 2023, plaintiffs arrive in London, England to start rehearsals and perform with Lizzo at the Brit Awards show. On or about the 23rd of February, plaintiffs performed with Lizzo at a show in Amsterdam, Netherlands. After the show, Lizzo invited the dancers out with her on the town. This is something that if it goes to trial, I can imagine in a very, not expert way, being a big point of contention about whether or not this was an actual invitation or if it was like an invitation, right? Because that's going to change a lot of this context. But it's worth noting that maybe as PSA to all employees, maybe intentions aside, it might be best not to invite your employees out for the specific thing that you're going to do, lest it open up some issues with people in terms of like consenting to actual, what you're doing. These invitations were not unusual and attendance was not mandatory, but it was well known that dance cast members were expected to endear themselves to Lizzo. Lizzo often mentioned that she had eyes and ears everywhere and only wanted, quote, good people with good energy around her. Those who attended the after-party events Lizzo planned were often favored, selected to perform with Lizzo at shows outside of regularly scheduled tour dates. Were widely considered to enjoy greater job security. By not attending, dancers not only risked losing out on being selected for these additional shows and therefore additional income, but also risked being ostracized from the group, putting their continued employment on tour in jeopardy. That sounds like it really sucks. I think a lot of us have had jobs where your boss wants to kind of network with you and you're like, I'm tired, I want to go home. But the people who network get better jobs because that's like inherently what networking is, and it sucks. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people at all levels of the industry, but just outside of the industry, I think a lot of people know what that's like. It also just reminds me of the episode of Friends where Rachel's boss smokes and the other lady who works for her smokes. So they're like making all the cool decisions about like the fall catalog and stuff together. And then Rachel's left out, so she tries to start smoking for the betterment of her job. Like, it's just like,
Of course.
Doing
things you don't want to do to try to be at the same position of others.
Yikes. This particular evening, Lizzo sent out an invite through her close friend and member of the dance cast, Shanta, last name unknown. Ms. Davis and Ms. Rodriguez were out at dinner celebrating the birthday of one of the supporting vocal performers on tour when they received the invitation. Shanta hurried the dancers, including plaintiffs, to accept or decline, feeling their absence would be noticed and or taken personally by their employer. Plaintiffs accepted the invitation before learning what Lizzo had in store for them. As it turns out, Lizzo had planned a night in Amsterdam's notorious red light district. A lot of people know where this is going. Known for its abundance of sex theaters, sex shops, and clubs and bars where nudity is on full display. All of that is totally fine, as long as everybody's consenting. As long as everybody's a consenting adult, all of that is fine. The consent is what's in question right now. The main event of the night was a club called the Banana Bar. Bananan Bar. Bananas keep coming up in ways that I don't want.
Oh,
I don't
poor
even like
bananas.
bananas to begin with, and this is not helping Banana's case at all.
Oh, there's a banana somewhere that just has a tear coming out of its stem.
This is a place where patrons are allowed to interact with completely nude performers. When plaintiffs expressed misgivings about the plans for the night, Shanta stated that it was too late to back out because they had already sent Lizzo the head count for the evening. This is where it gets dicey, right? If it's at first it's just like, okay, invitation accepted. This is more of it starts becoming less and less of a gray area the more you learn that like they tried to back out and they were told they couldn't. Or later on you're going to hear that one thing was basically all but implied to be mandatory for like a work outing. But like when plaintiffs expressed misgivings, I already read that. I'm sorry, Spencer. Again, feeling the looming pressure of job insecurity should plaintiffs abstain from attending, plaintiffs reluctantly went along for the evening. Hello, Perry. Perry's like, I heard drama.
At least she's not scratching at the door this time.
You have a door, silly. While at Banana Bar, things quickly got out of hand. Lizzo began inviting cast members to take turns touching the nude performers, catching dildos launched from the performers' vaginas. How? Good for those performers. That takes some... I feel like there's core strength involved. I don't know.
No comment.
No comment.
No comment. I'm thinking about it and I'm like, I don't
want to know, but I'm curious at the same time how that's even possible.
Google or Spencer with the Bing cat.
Spencer, don't Google that.
Don't Google it, Spencer. Don't do it. Oh, we've traumatized Spencer, everyone. Sorry, Spencer.
Touching the nude performers, catching dildos launched from the performers' vaginas, and eating bananas protruding from the performers' vaginas. I'm so sorry. It's not... I'm sorry, Gabe. I didn't want to be...
Where's the zoom in? It's just, there's a... And I'm just like... Again, interesting. Anyway, yeah, sorry. I am very mature and I'm able to handle this information.
Again,
but
if the patrons are consenting, fine.
Yes,
I don't care. Good for you. Do it. The problem is that apparently these people are alleging that they were not consenting, and their boss was like, "Do it, do it. Get the banana." And it's like,
yeah,
gross. Gross if you're not into it. Not gross if you're into it, but that's the herein problem. I lost my place because that one took me back for a second.
Eating bananas. Sorry.
Lizzo then turned her attention to Miss Davis and began pressuring Ms. Davis to touch the breasts of one of the nude women performing at the club. Lizzo began leading a chant, goading Miss Davis. Miss Davis said 3 times, loud enough for all to hear, "I'm good," expressing her desire not to touch the performer. The chant grew louder and more strident, demanding a visibly uncomfortable Miss Davis to engage with the performer. Ms. Davis reiterated her discomfort, stating, "I'd rather not because I'm cool here in the corner." Finally, chorus became overwhelming, and a mortified Miss Davis acquiesced in an attempt to bring an end to the chants. Yikes. Ugh. After Miss Davis briefly touched the performer's breast, the group burst into laughter. Miss Davis abashedly laughed along, trying to hide how uncomfortable the interaction made her. Her efforts to conceal her discomfort were apparently unsuccessful, as on separate occasions, BGB team management in attendance, as well as Lizzo's security team, asked Miss Davis if she was okay. So she was upset enough that people were like, "You good?" And she's like, "Not really." Miss Davis replied kind of to one request, then no to the other. In addition to pressuring an unwilling Ms. Davis into interacting with a nude performer, plaintiff, and all in attendance were unable to avoid witnessing Lizzo's incredibly public display of sexual affection with her boyfriend. At one point, the couple exuberantly took Shanta and 2 members of the band, which performed with Lizzo on tour, to a back room before returning sometime later. Weird, but I'm glad that that's all they had to see.
I mean,
I don't think anybody who's in the lawsuit currently has come forward about this instance. Although I do know that some people, there's apparently 6 people are thinking about joining the claim, like other employees. So like maybe we'll hear about the other incidences coming forward with that. But for right now, that's all we know about that. Oh, that's not all we know about that. Okay, sorry.
But wait, there's more.
Oh no, it is. This is we're
mind.
going right into a different part of the same night, but different claim. Upon her return to the main club, Lizzo began to pressure a member of her security team to participate in the night's debauchery. Lizzo badgered the security guard to get on the club stage until he submitted to her demands. While he got on the stage, his pants were pulled down, exposing his buttocks. Lizzo then began yelling, "Take it off," while a club performer hit the security guard with whips. This sounds like a whole lot of uncomfortable people in this situation.
Yeah, consent is key, everyone.
Yeah,
consent is key.
It's such a simple thing, and yet here we are.
Yep. Oh, Perry's rubbing against the camera, so I might be shaking. Oh, Perry just looked at me like, what is happening? Sorry, Perry.
Yeah, look.
Oh no, I'm shaking. Oh no, the T-Rex is coming.
Oh God.
Boom, boom. Think this is Stephen Jr., the second best actor of the Dinosaur group. Anyway, sorry. Anyway.
The second best actor. Who's the best actor?
Steve.
Okay. This is Stephen with a P?
Or this is Stephen with a PH Jr.
Okay.
The whip, I think that.
Yeah, plaintiffs were aghast with how little regard Lizzo showed for bodily autonomy after her employees and those around her, especially in the presence of many people whom she employed. On or about March 5th, 2023, after performing in Paris, France, not Paris, Texas, Paris, France, just for clarification. Lizzo again invited the dancers out. She told them that they were going to go to Crazy Horse, a place where the live dancers would perform, and they would be able to learn something or be inspired by the performers. What Lizzo failed to mention when inviting the dancers to this performance was that it was a nude cabaret bar. Some people pointed out that this is a very famous bar, and it's kind of implied that these people should have known better, but I'm gonna be honest, I did not know about this specific establishment, because I'm not from France and I've never heard of this place. So, just for what that's worth. I'm also concerned by the fact that she was like, this is a good opportunity for you guys to like get inspired. This sounds very much like it's a work thing, like that you have to go to, right? Sounds a lot like more mandatory than like, hey, come out to so-and-so's birthday party. What Lizzo failed to mention, okay, not until the curtain opened and nude women began to dance on the stage did plaintiffs know what they were in store for. Not only were plaintiffs under the same pressure as before to go on with Lizzo after the performance, but this time the fact that they would be attending a show where nudity was prominently featured was hidden from them, making them completely surprised when the curtain was drawn. Nudity was yet again on display. When the show at Crazy Horse was it was artful and nowhere near as uncomfortable as the outing at Banana Bar, plaintiffs were shocked that Lizzo would conceal the nature of the event from them, robbing them of the choice not to participate. You should disclose things to people. If it's a work thing especially, but just in general, you should disclose things to people. On or about March 9th, 2023, the dancing team submitted their request to BGBT and Lizzo for a retainer of 50% of their weekly tour rate to ensure that they would be paid for their time while on break from touring, since BGBT and Lizzo strongly preferred the dance cast not to take on other jobs during these breaks. On or about March 16th, The last show of the European leg of the special tour was played. Before the show, BGBT accountant Ashley, I can't pronounce that last name, Joshi? It's Josh with an I. I'm going to say Joshi. I'm sorry if that's wrong. Sent an email responding to dancers' retainer request. In the email, they offered a retainer of 25%. Basically, this goes on a little bit to say, okay, so they offered a retainer of 25% of the dancers' weekly, exactly half of what the dancers requested. Additionally, they were scolded that this for the unacceptable and disrespectful behavior while on tour, stating it was cause for termination. So not until they start asking for a little bit more money do people start saying they're bad at their job. Tale as old as time.
Yeah.
As soon as you need something, it's like, but what about all the times you sucked and I didn't tell you about it? It's like, what? Only the dance cast comprised of full-figured women of color were ever spoken to in this manner, giving plaintiffs the impression that these comments were charged with racial and fatphobic animus? Vitriol, I believe, is the email marked the beginning of a strained relationship between the dancers and managers. This is also something I see being contested if it goes to court. They're gonna be like, they're either gonna pull the like, I hate to even say his name. They're gonna pull either the trump card of like, we treat everybody like hell. That's just how we are. And they're just gonna completely refute that it ever happened, or they're gonna say like, oh, they did suck at their job.
True. Maybe, but maybe they could be like, well, everyone else gets a retainer. Why don't we? We're dancers. We're working hard too.
Yeah.
But,
back in the United States, they were once again placed on a soft hold, unable to take on other jobs. On April 4th, the dancers and BGBT were able to agree on a 50% retainer, so they did end up giving them the retainer, which I find pertinent, right? Because if the argument is, well, maybe they were really bad at their jobs, I feel like they wouldn't have been persuaded to give them the retainer, right? I feel like that's indicative to me that they just were hoping that they could talk them out of it. And when they couldn't, they were like, shit, we can't lose these dancers. They're too important. So they gave them what they wanted.
Which is good. Pay
good.
Your workers.
But if the argument comes up later in court that like they actually were bad at what they did, I feel like that might be an important issue or an important point to lean back on and be like, but they gave them what they wanted, which it tells me that they were valuable to that team. Because rich people really do not like giving people more money.
Yep, tale as old as time, as you said before.
But then, after they got the retainer, the management began to lash out at them more. Specifically, BGBT management treated the black members of the dance team differently than other members, is what's being alleged directly here. BGBT's management team consisted of almost entirely white Europeans who often accused the black members of the dance team of being lazy, unprofessional, and having bad attitudes. You know, those stereotypes of black women that they're still having to deal with to this very day. Very cool, guys. Yikes. That's just really gross if it's true. Not only did the words ring familiar as tropes used to disparage and discourage black women from advocating for themselves, but the same accusations were not levied against dancers who were not black. On or about April 20th, the dance cast was scheduled for an 8-hour rehearsal. Near the end of the rehearsal, Lizzo arrived and called the dance cast together for a meeting to address the rumors of unprofessionalism. During the meeting, Lizzo also stated that the dancers were not performing up to par and repeatedly accused dancers of drinking alcohol before shows, even though the dance cast has never partaken in such a practice. This is another thing. We don't know if this happened or not. We know that they've been accused of this and they very much deny it. So if this were to go to trial, I'm sure this would be something that was either tried to be proved or disproven, if it's possible. Um, it just feels like a random. This complaint comes out of nowhere. So I would like to learn more about where that came from. Sorry, I'm really into true crime stuff, and the part of my brain that's very like, ooh, I wanna know about this. I want to
I
know.
must
I
know
want to
more.
understand how this horrible thing happened. You know. Lizzo then stated the dancers would be required to re-audition for their spots, and if Lizzo was dissatisfied with their performance at the end of the day, the dancers would be fired and sent home. What followed was an excruciating re-audition, in which the dancers repeatedly ran through the entire 90-minute show. What was supposed to be an 8-hour rehearsal was extended to almost 12 hours. I know how tired I am at 12 hours of like just being an extra. If I'm like constantly doing the choreography of a 90-minute world tour show, can't even imagine. I hope they were hydrated.
Oh gosh. There's like one cup of water and Lizzo just
They all have to share it.
Yeah. Lizzo just puts it down and is like, okay, you must run to the water now. And whoever gets it first gets to drink it.
Ugh. The re-audition was brutal, as the dancers were not allowed a break. During the run-through of the show, it gets worse. Ms. Davis felt that she needed to excuse herself to use the restroom. However, she was afraid that if she left the stage at any point during the audition, she would be fired. Ms. Davis was pressed on as long as she could until she eventually lost control of her bladder. Still fearing the repercussions of exiting the stage during the run-through, Ms. Davis remained on stage dancing in soiled clothes until there was a brief segment of the show where the dance cast was not part of the on-stage performance and were allowed a short break. It's so bad. You start with like, that's bad, but maybe there was some kind of like easy remedy to this, and it just keeps getting worse like an iceberg.
Well, that also just I think I've said this. I don't know if I said this on the podcast, but it reminds me of an Joker. Is that what it's called? Joaquin Phoenix's Joker?
Yeah.
Where you hear the story about how there were background that were kept on a subway car to the point where someone had to use the restroom like outside the door because they weren't allowed to go take a break.
I think we have talked about this on a previous episode. I don't remember when, but yeah, that's a crazy story.
And I believe it too.
I believe it too. You probably could do a whole podcast about the making of that Joker movie because there were a lot of things that happened on that movie.
Which we can't talk about, but I can talk about the behind the scene thing, hopefully. And if not, Spencer, please cut that out. But I don't know.
Oh, you mean like, no, I mean, I don't think it would really be, well, it wouldn't be an endorsement or a non-endorsement. It would just be like, here's some weird stuff that happened behind the scenes.
All right. You can cut out the title, but it's like, on this movie, I heard about this, but I don't know.
I think it's fine to mention it. You don't have to keep this part in, but I think it's fine to mention it as long as you're not like, for right now, like obviously we'd have to cover it after the strike, but like to mention it in passing, I think it's just pop culture. I think that's unavoidable. The re-audition was brutal, and the dancers were not allowed a break. Already read this. This is terrible. Ms. Davis was utterly embarrassed and hurried backstage to change into clean clothes. Unfortunately, the only clothing available to Ms. Davis was a see-through garment provided by wardrobe department, making her feel exposed and even more embarrassed. Ms. Davis was required to finish the rehearsal dancing in front of male crew members who were known to sexualize the dancers under less revealing scenarios. While wearing completely transparent shorts and no undergarments. After rehearsal was finally over, nothing was said about the dancers, but they were left with the impression that they were to show up the next day. On or about April 21st, Lizzo called another meeting with the dance cast, to reiterate that none of their jobs were safe. Once again, Lizzo mentioned the drinking alcohol before the show was prohibited, as the accusation was not based in any sort of reality. Ms. Williams raised her hand and asked to speak. Ms. Williams went on to rebut Lizzo's accusation of drinking on the job, stating that the dancers had never drank alcohol prior to the show. Ms. Quigley immediately supported Ms. Williams, confirming that the dancers had never drank before shows. Lizzo mockingly responded, "Well, if you're not, then good for y'all," then stated maybe the accusations of drinking before the shows were on account of the dancers' poor performances. From this moment on, the tension between Lizzo, BGBT management, and Ms. Williams was palpable. So she said, "Oh, if you're not drinking, then that might just be because you suck so bad that everybody thinks you're drinking." Lizzo was having a moment that day. On or about April 21st, Miss Davis was called into a private meeting with Lizzo. Choreographer Tanasha Scott, referred to hereinafter as Miss Scott. Lizzo and Miss Scott questioned whether Miss Davis was struggling with something as she seemed less committed to her role in the dance cast. Lizzo and Miss Scott pressed Miss Davis for an explanation why she seemed less bubbly and vivacious than she did prior to the tour. Starting in professional dance, a dancer's weight gain is often seen as a dancer getting lazy or worse off as a performer. Lizzo and Miss Scott's questions about Miss Davis's commitment to tour were very thinly veiled concerns about Miss Davis's weight gain, which Lizzo had previously called attention to after noticing it at the South by Southwest Music Festival. So, again, this is something that some people are like, but wait, some dancers have said, okay, I can definitely see how that could be interpreted as like weight gain, but other people like who like, I'm not a dancer, but have been looking at this and being like, is it, or is it just a misunderstanding? I don't know. This is one of those things that people just kind of need more information about, but there's clearly a lot of animosity going on around this. I don't think this particular nitpickiness of like whether or not the intention was what it was. This poor person was under a lot of stress. This is the person who, let me just make sure that I'm correct before I say it. I believe this was the person that peed because she couldn't have a bathroom break. So whether or not this is about her weight, she's still dealing with a lot of shitty stuff. So, just wanted to throw that out there. I'm kind of going through and trying to be like as mindfully fair as I can, because I know there's going to be Lizzo fans that are going to be like, well, you don't know this and you don't know that. And for the record, we don't know any of this. But again, I have no reason not to believe these people until I expressly see reason not to believe them. So I believe them. That's kind of how I operate with things like this. But yeah. There's going to be people who are going to be like, you're being reactionary. It's just like, well, this is literally the court filings. So this is not in my own words. This is not whatever. This is what it is. And then I let you know. Hi, Ellis. My dog's barking. Then I let you know what I'm thinking. Miss Davis explained that she was dealing with personal issues, but did not, would not ever let it affect her work. In fact, not only had Miss Davis's performance as a dancer not slipped, but Miss Davis had become a better dancer than she was when she was hired. I've seen other people say, I don't know how you quantify that, but I mean, if you've gone on a whole world tour, I imagine that's probably true. You've probably learned a lot.
Maybe she's seen herself and is like, yeah, I have gotten better. Or she just feels more confident in her skills kind of thing.
Yeah, could be a number of things. Basically, she disclosed that she was going through personal issues. She'd been struggling with anxiety, depression, and had been diagnosed with binge eating disorder. Miss Davis explained her diagnosis, and struggles, but made it clear that in spite of her mental health struggles, she was committed to the tour and performing to the top of her capabilities. In response, Lizzo and Miss Scott dismissively offered Miss Davis time off from rehearsal to attend therapy. This offer seemed strange to Miss Davis and made her feel like if she accepted the time off, Lizzo and BGBT would see her as too weak to continue. So basically they said, do you want time off? And she refused it, thinking that it was kind of like a trap, which, again, it could have been a genuine offer. I suppose it could have not been. We weren't there. We don't know. But that's the way that she was made to feel, which again goes back to like the toxic workplace environment. Okay. Checking to make sure that we're still recording and still good. Yes, we are. Okay. I'm trying to get through this as fast as possible. I'm sorry. It's just a whole long court document. We're on page 20 currently. Yeah, there's a lot being... We haven't even gotten to like the false imprisonment stuff yet.
Oh, yeah.
Or the assault charge.
Oh yeah, you
It's
told me about
truly an
that.
iceberg.
We are going deeper into the iceberg.
We start with the little tip of like being religiously persecuted, and you're like, that sucks. And then you go further and further, and you're like, oh God, that's just a crime. That's just a whole crime.
that many people have seen.
I mean, like religious persecution in the workplace is a crime, but like you know what I mean. Like physical harm crime is basically what we're getting to.
Yeah.
Okay. On or about April 27th, the dancers were called into a meeting, Lizzo, to discuss how they had been dancing. Prior to discussing, Lizzo had addressed Miss Williams being Wait, I missed something. On or about April 26th, Miss Williams was terminated. This is what I meant. She was terminated in the lobby of the hotel the dancers were staying at, which is really shitty.
Oh.
They could have done that in a more graceful way. Ms. Gugliotta, under the guise of budget cuts, Ms. Williams was the only dancer to get fired on this day. Stunned, Ms. Williams asked to speak to Lizzo. Ms. Gugliotta replied, telling Ms. Williams that Lizzo isn't the best with these things, and she has a lot going on. Undeterred, Ms. Williams continued to ask to speak to Lizzo until Ms. Gugliotta stated Ms. Williams, quote, does not have the best attitude at time and comes across as snarky. Ms. Rodriguez then spoke to Ms. Gugliotta expressing disagreement with the decision publicly terminate Ms. Williams. Ms. Gugliotta responded that it had to be done and then stated, quote, we've never had any problem with you. Which to me sounds like, and I can't hear the tone of voice, but it just kind of comes across as like a threat to like, do you want to be the next one to be fired? To me, that's how I took it when I read it the first time. All right, on April 27th, the dancers were called into a meeting to discuss how Miss Williams was fired. During a meeting, Lizzo stated she had heard that one of the dancers questioned why Lizzo hadn't fired Ms. Williams directly. Lizzo repeatedly demanded to know who questioned her decision to fire Ms. Williams, and once again reminded the dance crew that she had eyes and ears everywhere. Lizzo also stated her preference that the dance cast refrain from socializing with Ms. Williams before Ms. Williams left New Orleans with the tour was performing that night. Afterwards, Lizzo finally gave the group performance notes. By the way, employers do that or try to do that, and it's like highly question. You can't do that. Like, they're like, don't talk to the person that I just fired. Like, I'm sure you wouldn't like that as an employer for, like, your employees to talk with the people that you've kind of fucked over. But, like, employers don't really have the right to tell you to do that, and it's really shitty. I remember my dad had a boss like that. We were actually, like, family friends with these people, and my dad worked with their dad, and then he got fired, and we just were not supposed to ever talk to them again, because it was just like, we have a company policy, you can't fraternize with the people that get fired. And it's just like, well, like, they would threaten to fire anybody that was caught fraternizing with the enemy. It's just, like, really toxic. Ms. Davis, who suffers from an eye condition, which Lizzo and BGBT were aware of, sometimes becomes disoriented in stressful situations, and as a result of the condition, according to Ms. Davis, has a habit of making audio recordings for stressful interactions so she can review them for later in less stressful environments. So she has a medical condition, so she sometimes will just record things so that she can like process information after the fact. As the tour camp had become incredibly tense for Miss Davis, and the original intent of the meeting was for Lizzo to provide performance notes that could be crucial to the dancers' continued employment, Ms. Davis recorded the meeting so she could review it later on. On or about May 3rd, all the dancers were called into emergency wardrobe fitting. Emergency wardrobe fitting is a funny thing. Like, it makes total sense to the part of my brain that's worked in, like, film and knows, like, what goes into fitting, but it's just, emergency wardrobe! Emergency wardrobe!
Quick, change into these clothes right now!
It's an emergency! We're all literally gonna die if you don't have the right wardrobe on.
We need to change everything by tonight. Emergency wardrobe fitting.
Okay. As they arrived, fitting BGBT, security was waiting for their dance cast. Security took each dancer's phone as they entered the room. This happens all the time with extra work. Mm-hmm. It's incredibly annoying. Once all were in the room and the phones were collected, Lizzo entered. Lizzo stated she knew that one of the dancers recorded the meeting on April 27th. Lizzo became furious, hurling expletives at the group, and stated that she was going to go around the room person by person until someone told Lizzo who made the recording. Ms. Davis admitted that she had recorded the meeting and explained it was because she wanted to have a copy of the notes Lizzo had given about their performance. Ms. Davis also explained that she never intended to harm Lizzo with the recording and had even deleted it the day after recording. Lizzo responded with, there's nothing you can say to make me believe you. Ms. Quigley and Lizzo then took turns berating Davis. After castigating Ms. Davis, Lizzo fired Ms. Davis on the spot. That sucks. She got fired in front of everybody. Oh, I know people who that's happened to on film. I don't know what I would do if that would happen to me. I think I would just break down crying. Before Lizzo left, Ms. Rodriguez asked if she could have a word with Lizzo. Ms. Rodriguez explained that she did not appreciate how Lizzo had handled the situation. Good for Rodriguez, by the way. She's like sticking up for her friends, being like, that was bullshit what you did.
Yeah, and they knew that she recorded they knew that she needed to record the stuff, didn't they?
According to her, she disclosed this because it's because of a medical condition. So, like, they knew this happened, but apparently Lizzo was not feeling good as hell. There, I said it. She was having a bad day, and apparently she was afraid that this recording would leak, because I guess she was not a very nice person in that.
And can't they be like, or isn't it's illegal to fire someone based off of a medical condition, isn't it? So to terminate her for trying to choose something to help with her medical condition.
At least in California, I believe it is.
Okay, so
Yeah, so, I think wrongful termination. I don't know if wrongful termination is a literal thing listed here. I assume it would be. I'll look at the first part again at the end, but sorry, I'm getting there. There's a lot. I'm trying to get us through. No, you're good. I'm just trying to get us through this because I don't want you to feel like you're being held against your will in a closet.
It's fine. You're not yelling at me and saying that I suck when I try to. Can I have a retainer? How dare you?
Gabe, I really think you've been drinking before we do all these podcasts.
I've been drinking water. I have to drive here. I can't drink unless it's in your house. Can you imagine? And your mom's like, hey, Gabe, I got some 7 Deadly Zit. Oh, you're having a moment. My bad. I'm just like, no, I didn't. I don't even like wine. You gotta. Sorry.
God, it's just so ridiculous what these poor people had to go through. Before Lizzo left, Ms. Rodriguez asked if she could. So Rodriguez was like, that was bullshit. She didn't say that. She said she did explain that she did not appreciate how Lizzo had handled the situation with Miss Davis, and Ms. Rodriguez felt disrespected and therefore would resign. So she was like, I'm out. I'm good. The resignation drew both Ms. Quigley and Lizzo's ire. Ms. Quigley screamed at Ms. Rodriguez, like a good Christian woman.
Mm-hmm.
And Ms. Davis calling them disrespectful. Lizzo aggressively approached Ms. Rodriguez, cracking her knuckles, balling her fists, and exclaiming, "You're lucky. You're so fucking lucky." Ms. Rodriguez feared that Lizzo intended to hit her and would have done if it wasn't for the other dancers intervening. Neither security nor management did anything to de-escalate the situation. As Lizzo left the room, she raised both her middle fingers and yelled, "Bye, bitch." I wasn't there, but this feels very on brand for Lizzo. Like, not the abusive part, but just the "bye, bitch" part. Like, if that was in a funnier context, I could see. It feels very on brand. Does that make sense? Lizzo's just very Lizzo's an outgoing personality. I probably also have said "bye, bitch" at one point, but it was probably just jokingly to Spencer.
Everyone's like, "You were mean to Spencer." No, whoops.
Probably at one point I was. Oh, it's fine.
I accidentally knocked down the
Wicked Witch, the squished Wicked Witch.
I squished her with this origami paper. origami
paper. I think what I'm trying to say is if this was not in the context of her being abusive to somebody, if Lizzo had been like, bye, bitch, we probably all would have been like, Lizzo's hilarious, right? But in this situation, it just feels weird.
Yeah.
Imagine your boss firing you and then going, bye, bitch.
I would be I might do something similar behind their backs and just be like, ugh, you didn't deserve me anyway.
Ms. Rodriguez returned to her hotel room escorted by 3 other dancers as they all feared Lizzo may return trying to hurt Ms. Rodriguez. I'm not laughing because it's funny. It's just, you should never be that scared of your boss. You should never be like, wait, she might come back. It's terrifying. It's nervous laughter. It's nervous laughter.
Nervous laughter, everyone. Nervous laughter.
Trying to hurt Ms. Rodriguez. Ms. Rodriguez packed her things and prepared to leave. If this is all true, which I assume it is, like, that's really fucked up. Come on, Lizzo. Ms. Davis was forced to stay behind, detained in the room where the meeting had taken place by a member of Lizzo's security detail referred to as Robo. Molly Gordon, hereinafter Ms. Gordon, the special tours co-manager, demanded Ms. Davis let Robo rifle through her files on Ms. Davis's phone and in her iCloud while Ms. Gordon watched, even though Ms. Davis had already explained she deleted the recording days earlier. Ms. Davis was told she was not allowed to leave until her phone had been searched. Ms. Davis was scared and wanted nothing more than to leave the area and therefore assented to her phone being searched. A thorough search confirmed Ms. Davis's assertion that she had already deleted the recording from her phone. After finally being released from her confinement, Ms. Davis hurried to her hotel room. That's the false imprisonment charge. They held her there. We worked on big TV show that somebody was leaking photos at one point, and so it was a show for a streaming service. The streaming service sent a security guard to sit outside our holding and would randomly select people to be like, give me your phone, let me look through all your photos. And if anybody consented, it was stated that if you did not consent, you were fired and most likely blacklisted. Were you there for that day?
I don't think I was there for that day because nowadays on certain shows, they put your phone in a special bag that needed a certain way to unlock it. And so we can do that. But I've never heard of them being like, if you don't show us your phone, then you're getting fired.
Well, see, what happened was, and this was super messed up, but what happened was this was not a show that was locking away phones, but somebody was releasing pictures and it was a big show. And so, not to defend what they did, but they basically couldn't, they were afraid that they were trying to find the person who leaked the photos. They started doing like an illegal search on random people's phones, and then it turned out to be nobody in the extras crew.
I find that seems to be the case sometimes where just
trying to keep that.
It doesn't want to look at me. My microphone doesn't want to look at me, guys. I'm sorry. But it just reminds me of when we're on set, the background's just, and you just hear, background, be quiet. And we're just.
Oh, it's always the crew. Like, not always, but like oftentimes the crew will be talking. And then like the director is like, why can't I hear who I'm trying to talk to right now? And so they're just like, it's the extra, sir. Extras. Be fucking quiet. And all the extras are like, we are literally sitting here silently.
And I usually do the that was a swear word. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, I
know. I'm sure a lot of people watching are like, why don't I said no voice, sign language, B word. Anyway.
Don't speak on set. They will yell at you. Gabe and I use sign language to talk across the room, and we don't get in trouble. It's great.
They don't understand us.
Yeah, it's actually a helpful skill when you're trying to communicate from across a room, and if you say anything, people will yell at you. So it helps to be able to communicate silently. So that you don't get fired.
Oh gosh. Yeah, and just here, it wasn't even the background. I know there are sometimes there are background who are like, let me very conspicuously be like, oh, look, the set. But there are some times where it was obviously the crew that leaked stuff, but
Yeah.
not all crew and not all background, but anyway.
Ms. Davis was forced to stay behind, detained in the room where the meeting had taken place. I already read this. Sorry, Spencer. After finally being okay, we're almost done. After finally being released from her confinement, Ms. Davis hurried to her hotel room, packing up her things, met up with Ms. Rodriguez, and left for the airport. Their flight did not leave for another 7 hours, but the two were afraid that Lizzo, Ms. Quigley, or someone at Lizzo's direction might return with the intent to further confront or even hurt them. And then we go on to list the causes of action. Conduct. This goes on to legally spell out what they're not disputing, alleging. The conduct of the defendant, Lizzo, BGBT, and Miss Quigley created a hostile work environment for plaintiffs, making conditions of their employment intolerable, in direct contravention of various situations and state law decisions, including but not limited to, goes on to list a bunch of case law. Harassment was so severe or pervasive that it altered the terms of conditions for plaintiffs' employment, creating a hostile, abusive work environment and making their working conditions intolerable. Said harassment was sufficiently extreme and totally pervasive to amount to a change in terms and conditions on plaintiff's employment. Throughout their employment with Lizzo, plaintiffs were exposed to overtly sexual atmosphere. That's the sexual harassment claim. Lizzo herself pressured plaintiffs and her employees to attend outings. That goes on. Plaintiffs have timely filed the complaints. They have done all their paperwork, and so on, and so on. Plaintiffs incorporate... This is the second cause of action. So the causes of action, real quick, they're in bold. I'm sorry to every lawyer who might be watching this. I'm not a lawyer. Reading case file is not something I do. It's something I have done, but it's more just a recreational thing.
Oh gosh, there's going to be a TV show about you becoming like a lawyer assistant, and then you're eventually take the bar and pass after all the recreational.
I mean, I am currently. I work as an editor and research assistant for some of my clients, or for one of my clients. And so I've gotten pretty good at, between that and just the research in a much more casual way, research for digging up things for this channel. I'm pretty okay at research. I'm pretty okay as, like, if I need to find the answer, I can usually find the answer. Or I can find the available information and do my best to draw a fair conclusion. Although everybody thinks they draw a fair conclusion, but I do my best. But the first cause of action is hostile work environment, sexual harassment. The second one is failure to prevent and or remedy hostile work environment, sexual harassment. The third is religious harassment. Is there a fourth? Fourth is failure to prevent or remedy religious harassment. So they're suing person and also company for not stopping person for each of these things. Racial harassment. I imagine the next one is... Oh, nope. Next one is disability discrimination. So there you go. They're Miss Davis against defendants. So she is suing them for termination under cause of medical disability. Seventh cause of action is intentional interference with prospective economic advantage. That's the forcing them not to take other jobs, I assume. Eighth is assault. Ms. Rodriguez against Lizzo for being about to hit her and then having to be dragged away. The ninth cause is false imprisonment.
Yeah.
Which feels like we shouldn't have had to get there. None of this should have happened. But the false imprisonment, nobody's really reporting on the false imprisonment part. Or at least nearly as much as, like, the, fat phobia and religious whatever. And I get why, because those things are important. And it just goes so directly against Lizzo's brand of like inclusivity and acceptance and all those things that I think that's what people are shocked about. But like false imprisonment and assault is also, we should be talking about that too.
Yeah.
Like those things are important. So that's basically, and then there's a bunch of legalese at the bottom. You're free to. I'll send this to Spencer so that he can link this so anybody who wants to can read through for themselves. I always advocate for consuming the media, doing the research yourself. Don't take my word for it. I'm just a random person on the internet.
But since you read through all the legal document stuff, then I can form my own conclusion now. Mwahaha. And I mostly agree with you on pretty much everything.
Yeah. It's one of those things where, like, obviously, like, opinions are subject to change as this unfolds. Like, we don't know. There might be something else that comes out. We don't know. That's kind of what, like, court proceedings are for. But I definitely, like, believe that there is weight to these claims. Because I have no reason not to believe it, you know?
Yeah.
And obviously if they weren't true, because like there are times when people are accused of things that they didn't do, obviously. And so like that sucks when that happens. But I don't have any reason to believe at this juncture that this is something that is the case in this case, right? So it's just kind of like, this sucks. This reminds me of a lot of things that we've gone through as extras too. And so I wanted to talk about it because it felt crazy. It felt like something that we would talk about.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, we can relate to that moment and that moment and that moment. The almost assault, no.
I've not had a employer almost assault or assaults. It's assault because she was about to hit her.
Oh yeah, assault and battery, or yeah.
So I have not been nearly punched by an employer. I hope that never happens. But truly, I'm very, very sorry that this is happening. To parties involved. This sounds horrible.
Yeah, just people doing stuff they're not comfortable with and saying they're not comfortable with it, and no one saying anything. But I'm sure the Lizzo and the misproselytizing and the company would be like, oh, we never heard it. And it's like, how do we know if they never heard it? It's like, oh, they don't have any actual evidence, so they could be like, oh, we don't know. She said, she said, they said, he said, all that good stuff. And it's like,
and it's very worth pointing out that like people of all different levels in this industry don't bring lawsuits where they could have because they fear retribution in the industry. So the fact that they're bringing this lawsuit is a huge, huge deal, and I think they should all be very proud of themselves for that, because there are a lot of people, honestly, myself included, who technically, like, we've seen OSHA violations happen, we've seen all kinds of stuff, and it's just kind of like, you experience all these things, and then you're just kind of like, but if I say something, I might never work again, so you kind of, like, have to take it as a calculated risk, but I'm glad that they're speaking up, because I hope it's clearly starting a conversation about things that need to be talked about, so, yeah. That's where that is right now.
Oh gosh, and I haven't seen it yet, but I'm just imagining the people who are like, well, then maybe they shouldn't be dancers. You can do anything else. They need to stop worrying. They should throw this lawsuit out. Just go to a different industry. And it's like, but I like working. That's not the point. I like working in this industry. I shouldn't have to like give up something I like because someone was treating me bad, and I should just leave it behind and stop complaining.
Yeah, the people who are online saying that are victim blaming, right? The idea that, like, oh, you coulda, shoulda, woulda been able to stop this from happening, or you shoulda known that this was going to happen, is just one of those things that people like to say when they're mad that, like, they don't like that this is happening because they love Lizzo, and they're just like, but we don't, you know, you should have not brought this suit. It's like, no, Lizzo shouldn't have almost, you know, punched a person and, like, done all this weird stuff. If it's true, it is being alleged that is true.
We shall see.
Yeah, I guess time will tell. Yeah, if this goes to court, this is gonna be a shit show.
Oh god, do we know when, like, it'll be decided if it's going to court or not?
It's I know it's a big, legal process, because there has to be, like, hearings. From what I know, the judge has to look at it and, like, you know, figure out what claims, you know, just what, you know, the case could be thrown out. I don't have the legalese to describe this correctly, but a judge can look at claims, right? If you're just like, someone stole 10 cents from me and I'm taking them to court, the judge could be like, really? But there are claims that have enough weight that I don't see a judge just throwing this out, obviously. Um, I imagine it's going to be either the most likely thing could be that Lizzo and company will settle out of court. But the interesting thing is, like, I know it's not always true, but like, if you're dealing with like crisis management of your PR, I don't know that none of this stuff actually happened, you might want to go to court and be like, but these things didn't happen, right? So not saying that because if somebody were to settle, it's definitely true, but if they settle, doesn't that kind of at least imply that some of it might be true because they just want to cut their losses because they don't want all this aired out? I don't know. So it's going to be interesting to see what they decide to do. I will keep us updated on what happens because I'm going to be following this.
Thank you.
But yeah, it's just a really weird out of left field. I woke up to the headline, Lizzo accused of sexual harassment and body shaming, and I was like, Lizzo? Not Lizzo.
Oh.
That sucks. But
oh no.
Lizzo has a statement.
She has a statement?
Yes. Lizzo's statement. I was going to read it and I completely forgot because all of that. She released a statement. It is not great, in my opinion, but
oh gosh, this is like going to the Kate Gosselin Instagram post about.
It is, isn't it? It is flashback to last week. Okay, so we have the last few quote, the last few days have been gut-wrenchingly difficult and overwhelmingly disappointing. My work ethic, morals, and respectfulness have been questioned. My character has been criticized. Usually I choose not to respond to false allegations, but these are as unbelievable as they sound and too outrageous to not be addressed. These sensationalized stories are coming from former employees who have already publicly admitted that they were told their behavior on tour was inappropriate and unprofessional. As an artist, I have always been very passionate about what I do. I take my music and my performances seriously because at the end of the day, I only want to put out the best art that represents me and my fans. With passion comes hard work and high standards. Sometimes I have to make hard decisions, but it's never my intention to make anyone feel uncomfortable or like they aren't valued as an important part of the team. I am not here to be looked at as a victim, but I also know that I am not a villain that people in the media have portrayed me to be the last few days. I am very open with my sexuality and expressing myself, but I cannot accept or allow people to use that openness to make me out to be something I am not. There is nothing I take more seriously than the respect we deserve as women in the world. I know what it feels like to be body shamed on a daily basis and would absolutely never criticize or terminate an employee because of their weight. I'm hurt, but I will not let the good work I've done in the world be overshadowed by this. I want to thank everyone who has reached out in support to lift me up during this difficult time. Now, there are several things that she did not even address. She did not address, she didn't really address the false imprisonment or the assault charge at all, which is, to me personally, suspicious. I find that very suspicious that would be the first thing out of your mouth, well, in your statement, to be like, would never physically assault or imprison or have imprisoned by my team or hold somebody against their will. So I found that interesting. And I also found interesting the argument because it felt like a bit of redirection where she says, I've always been open about my sexuality, and basically saying, like, I'm being miscategorized because I'm a person who's comfortable in my sexuality. Nobody's saying that it's, like, wrong, or if somebody is saying they're missing the point, that it's, like, wrong for her to be going to the places that she was going to. Like, all of that is fine. The accusation is that she was forcing other people to be there that she was forcing other people to be there when they didn't want to be. And that really doesn't get addressed. She just says, like, I'm open with my sexuality, so you're just a hater, basically, is what I took from that. And I feel like that's not at all what anybody is saying. It feels like purposefully, misunderstanding the question. So there's that. And I guess we'll see.
Yep.
That's all we've really heard from Lizzo personally. The comments are, well, we need to see people are saying we need to see the outcome of the lawsuit. On Twitter without proof. So people are basically saying, somebody says, I'm open with my sexuality. Saying I'm open with my sexuality is an odd way to deny sexual harassment claims. It's true, isn't it? Like, it's not at all. Like, this feels like it was written for people who might not have done any research into this, and she's kind of trying to control the narrative to give people who still support her something to parrot back. Be like, oh, well, she's a woman who's proud of her sexuality, when other people are like, but she harassed her coworkers, right?
Yeah.
This feels like that. This feels like this has happened in other big profile celebrity cases where it's like the one side that's been kind of proven to be doing bad things. This happens often where people are like, people will write what's supposed to look like a response or an apology. What it really is a very carefully crafted list of things that they want their supporters to say to people who are like, but it was weird when she was accused of doing that, right? Like, that was weird how that was claimed in court, right? And it's just like, she wants that specifically about her being open with her sexuality feels to me like a very specific, like she's trying to give somebody a soundbite to refute something on her behalf.
Yeah.
Personally, maybe I'm too cynical.
A not apology.
It's not an apology. She doesn't apologize, which I assume like if all of this was unfounded, which I don't believe it is at this point, but if it was, I mean, if you didn't do anything, don't apologize. But this feels very weird, even as a response. Like, if I'm completely innocent of everything that's being said, and I'm wanting to speak about this isn't the response I put out, in my opinion. And that could just be me. I feel like the first thing I would address is the assault and false imprisonment charges, and then kind of work back from there. She also does nothing to address the religious persecution claims, which is weird because she could easily, again, maybe I'm cynical, she could easily throw Quigley under the bus and be like, some of my crew has their own eccentric beliefs, but that is no part of, that's not my belief, or that's not what I did, and actions have been taken or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people would get on board with that. She doesn't mention that at all. I find it weird that the only things she directly refutes are body shaming, and she refutes the body shaming, the sexual harassment, kind of, by saying that she kind of implies that she's being victimized for the being open and expressing herself in that way. And then she says she has a hard work ethic, which I guess is her way of addressing the way that the claims that she was just screaming at people, which maybe, but like if you're screaming at people and like cussing people out, that doesn't sound like a work ethic thing. That sounds like an anger management thing. So
yeah, it's just like, or I work really hard and I just had a bad day. That sounds very reminiscent of when Tyra did her rant at Tiffany, and a lot of the judges were like, oh, or a lot of individuals are like, oh, she was working on America's Next Top Model. She had the Tyra show. She was really tired, and she felt that Tiffany was throwing this opportunity in her face, and that's why she yelled at her. And people are just like,
There's a comment in the comment section that says, "I quote, I'm very open with my sexuality. Being a sexual abuser is not being open with your sexuality." And it's just like, yeah. Because we don't, this is another thing too. Women can be abusers, and I think a lot of the times people forget that. And so the idea of like, I think it's important to kind of call things what it is. But that's her reply.
Yeah, it seems like she's focusing on the main things that are, before hearing about the court documents, those are the three things I heard, like or mainly the fat shaming and the like, just a bad workplace environment. So maybe she's like covering those, and so as you said, the fans can have something to hold on to, and so people won't try to dig deeper into everything that's happening. So it's like, oh, I'm addressing the things that are talking about. This is the only thing there is. This is why. Oh well, this is not an apology. Just this is my truth.
Like, yeah, this is like. Sorry, I interrupted you. I apologize. This is what I think Colleen Ballinger was trying to do with the ukulele song and failed horribly at it because of how cringe it was. But it's like it's one of those responses, not an apology, but a response that's not written for anybody that has actually done research. It's written for people who want to support horror, still do support horror, haven't done the digging. And it's just something so that if you're just kind of hearing in passing sexual harassment charges, fat shaming accusations, that this is like, oh, I guess they're cool then. And then it's like, but there's this 40-page document that has like a whole bunch of other stuff in it. So,
side note, going back to the Colleen Ballinger thing, do you know the anime Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood?
Yeah.
Do you remember Shao Tucker?
Yeah.
Big Brother Edward. There's someone who took a picture of him, and it's just his hands, or he's playing the ukulele. It's about the toxic gossip train, and I'm like, oh, that makes so much sense. The toxic, and that makes that I just. The relating of the two things are just
Shao Tucker.
Yeah, and he's just like, and I'm just imagining him doing something like that, and he's just like, what? It's for research. This is
the crazy man.
And it's just like, oh. And the people of the anime community are just like, oh no, oh no, toxic goth. So I turned my daughter into a chimera. That's not, and people are getting so mad at me. Like, what is this? I don't know. But I just
oh god
saw that, and I was just like, oh, it makes so much sense.
Yeah, that's so funny, and also, that episode haunts my nightmares.
Oh, it's apparently a lot more graphic in Full Metal Alchemist, because there's a point where Edward tries to separate her and causes her more pain, and then she's taken away, and Edward tries to stop her being taken away, and then Scar finds her, and it's just, and like the imagery is just like, I won't say what happens, but it's just like, if you know kind of thing. But anyway.
Great. Yeah, so unfortunately, that's where we are. Hopefully, this will be settled in a way where victims get. I was gonna say, after coughing. sorry, Spencer. I'm so sorry.
Sorry, no. Spencer. Oh, what year are we again in the TARDIS? Oh no. Sorry. Anyway.
It's not the virus.
oh no, I'm trapped in the sorry, Spencer. I'm trapped in the closet. No.
No, it's not. It's not that, I promise.
Okay. Protect me, Stephen Jr.
I'll turn like this.
Sorry, no, you don't have to. I'm sorry. No, you don't have to turn out the other way. I'm sorry. She's offended. I'm sorry.
No, I'm not offended. It's mostly just dry. I've been talking for a while without a drink, and I've recently recovered from being sick, so it's just kind of those two things. And I still have my ear infection thing, or tooth infection that hurts very much in my ear right now going.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's fine. I'm going to get it fixed on Monday when they have a podcast coming out, so that's fun. That'll be a consolation day.
Listen to it as you're like,
and
the lack of water drinking, that just pulls me back to the Naked and Afraid episode when Joe wasn't drinking water and he was yelled at, and there's the you with the sound effect, and you grab your water and drink it.
I believe he put in a Minecraft sound effect.
Oh,
it's just like the drinking sound effect, where it's just like, I'm like, as soon as you said he doesn't drink enough water, everything in my body went, I haven't drank enough water. I need to go drink water when we get off of this. Which, oh God, we've been recording for 2 hours. I'm sorry, Spencer.
Sorry, Spencer.
We'll wrap it up here, but thank you guys for being here with us. Thank you for listening, or watching, or consuming wherever you get your podcasts. Please like the video, share the video, rate the video,
comment,
leave us a comment, subscribe here to Avery Talks About Stuff if you're on YouTube watching, and also Gabe at Gabriel Custic, who will be pinned, tagged in the description. So yeah, Bye, guys. Oh, wait,
Oh, we have to
wait.
travel. Wait, we have to travel somewhere because we were kind of stuck in 2013 that one time.
Right, we were only in 2021. I feel like we went back there for Love is Blind anyway. Let's see.
Love is Blind. I hope everyone there is okay.
2021. Not a Chevrolet.
Oh, we're gonna buy a car, everyone. And it's not. We're gonna go invest in some stocks. Oh wait, that was only 2 years ago. Maybe if we go back a little bit further.
Pop culture events. The Capitol riot. Oh no, not that one.
Oh no,
Not that one.
No, I just saw two people making out, and then you said that, and I was just like, that's not fun. Or the two people making out.
And then Kendall Jenner launched the tequila. Two very different things that happened.
Oh gosh.
The Meghan and Harry Oprah interview. A lot happened in 2021.
Oh gosh.
What a year for stuff.
Oh gosh. Oh my.
Kim and Kanye got divorced. Shia LaBeouf got sued. There was a lot going on.
Sued?
Yeah, that's a whole other story.
I see Jason Sudeikis.
I see Harry and Meghan. Vaccine appointments. Wow, that was a weird year. Oh no. Not Machine Gun Kelly.
Oh, and Megan Fox. Didn't they break up?
Yeah, I believe so.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Justice for Megan Fox. She deserves better.
Yeah.
Jennifer's body is great, even though the cover photos are misleading for it. But
Soho Karen had the audacity.
oh my god, why is none of this fun? Oh, iRod broke up. And
J-Rod.
J-Rod, sorry. Oh, Benifer. Yay, Benifer. Oh, aren't they remarried or married again?
I think they're married now.
I
don't keep up with the things. I'm sorry.
All good, but I'm just like, oh yay, that's kind of positive, and I wish them the best, and I hope you're happy.
We all thought it was going to be Hot Girl Summer. LOL. What? Why are you so mean in style?
Hey, every summer can be Hot Girl Summer.
The Olympics happened. Let's go to Tokyo Olympics.
Yay.
The Olympics happened.
I want to go to Japan.
Woo! Let's go there.
Yay. Okay. Thanks everyone for being here. Like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz.
I want to see Simone Biles. the short queen representing us all.
Yay. Fun times. Bye.
Wait, wrong button.
Oh no, we're not going yet. Hold on.
Flash warning.
Whoa.
There we go. Woo!
Bye.
Go Team USA.
Yay.
Bye, guys.
Bye.